Hey, everybody, welcome back for another episode of The Overlay, a poker podcast brought to you by CCG Poker, Chicagoland's #1 live charity poker experience. Sup, Brando?
What up, what up?
It's like the first day of spring here on February 27th.
But this is fake spring.
Is it? It's fake spring before we get
it's
last
Chicago.
winter?
Yeah, you know that something's coming. There's going to be one more storm, one more ice storm, 20 degrees, 12 degrees.
Have you ever seen
this is
that,
like a tease.
Yeah, have you ever seen that TikTok or Instagram, whatever we call it? Do we just call it TikToks now? Do I just say TikTok?
I think you just call it a reel. Just a reel.
Okay. Have you ever seen that
That
short?
covers all the platform. A short, yeah.
You ever seen that short where the guy was like, "Oh, what's Chicago weather like?" Well, you have summer, you have fake summer, you have early spring, you have late fall, you have first spring, and then back to winter, and then it's like the last ditch snow effort, and then it's like, good lord.
First spring, that followed by last winter, followed by actual spring.
Actual spring. We're in fake spring right now because it's like 50 today, and it's so nice. And
my car says 54 right now, and the sun's beaming. I would argue it's even 58.
Yeah,
right now in the sun.
It feels good.
Noon.
Speaking of TikToks, there's a big one going around in the poker community with the Choctaw WSOP circuit main event, where we had a little bit of WWE wrestling. There was a lot of acronyms in one quick succession. However,
really was.
Yeah. You want to tell us quickly what you saw on the internet, and then I'll give you the actual what I've read on the actual internet of what had happened, because the internet never lies.
I've only seen I don't even think I've seen the full. I saw the original one right when it came out of like a dude looking like he came back from Jumanji and just literally housed in a couple tables completely over. And I saw chips flying. I saw guys running to the microphone saying, "Everybody stand back. We'll take care of the chips."
Players going full on like Wild Wild West marshals. Like, I'm deputizing myself. I'm going to take this fool down. Because it was like 3 players that grabbed him.
Yeah,
and
they all just,
it wasn't security. It was players. Yeah. All right, so what I can gather from the internet is that... Here we go. Man flips tables in chaotic scene at WSOP Circuit Cherokee main event. They were down to like 65 players. They're going on break. Players had just cleared out for the break with 65 players left when an unknown man, a.k.a. Jumanji, walked into the tournament area and started flipping over tables. He managed to get 3 tables before the players and or security could stop him. And this dude I didn't realize it was 3 tables. 3 tables.
I thought it was 2 or 1.
No, he got through 3 tables, and he didn't knock them over. He straight up got underneath them like a CrossFit crazed out steroid freak underneath it, like just bench pressing. Like, they are flipped over. If you follow Matt Savage on Twitter, you can see his post. It's like the longest video I've seen. And he's got at the time that his article came out 2 days ago, there was 1.7 million views of this. Like, it is absolutely chaos. Chaos. It's right after break.
Somebody sent it to me in my group chat.
Going to break.
Yeah, they don't even have anything to do with poker. I got a random text message. They're like, "Is this CCG question mark?" obviously
nuts.
Joking,
right?
But clearly it hit the mainstream media where people that have nothing
Barstool.
to do with poker,
I guarantee Barstool had something on their social medias about this, because it was absolutely insane that this guy just juggernauts 3 tables.
So now you're saying it was during break, before break, after break?
They had gone on, break had been called, and you know how break happens, right?
They're finishing up the hands.
Breaks down, they're finishing up the hands. Some people are getting up, they're milling about. You see your buddies, where you at? How you doing? You got to do your quick.
I bluffed off with the ace queen suited.
Right, you got to do your quick bad beat stories before you try to hit the bathroom and or get a smoke in, get a vape in. An edible in, whatever your
crutch, your poker crutch is.
Right, eat a granola bar. I like to get
drink
away.
A room temperature water.
Yeah, I like to get away from the players as quickly as possible, like a bank robber. I try to get out of there as quickly as possible. Head down, no look. Anybody's like, "Hey, Ken, how are you? Love the podcast."
Yeah. Sorry, I gotta pee.
I gotta go. Yeah, I try to get out of there. But yeah, what I think is absolutely wild is that they were able to. So there were obviously 65 players left in the tournament when this happened. So like half of the field.
Yeah, so 7 or 8 tables left.
Yeah, so almost half of the field, or a third of the field.
A solid third. Yeah, I mean, even if there's 7 at a table, that's 21 of the 65 affected.
Yeah,
that's a third.
40% of the tournaments now have no idea. There's no definitive answer of what their chip stacks are, because there are chips everywhere, like everywhere. They're all over the place. It's not like the table just got knocked over and it slid to the side.
I saw chips like absolutely flying.
It was nuts. Absolutely crazy. So apparently what they did was the tournament staff looked at surveillance footage in an attempt to verify the stated stack sizes of players by cross-referencing it with security footage at the tables before the incident. So it is kind of the nice thing to be in, a Vegas type casino, or a big, like Choctaw is a huge casino, right? Like their overhead cameras.
Is it Choctaw or is it Cherokee? Because you said Choctaw twice and Cherokee once. One's in Oklahoma, I think one's in North Carolina. So
definitely
like
Cherokee.
So Cherokee.
I will stop saying Choctaw. Cherokee. Harris Cherokee, WSOP main event, day 2. Yeah, at the end of 10:25K, a guy takes a running start and crab scuttles under the table, flipping them all and the chips. He gets 3 tables flipped before stopped, 65 players left. So It is a wild video. Like, you have got to see it. Like, it's bananas. But they end up going through, they talked to the players, which I think is dangerous. So they kind of rely.
Well, you got to start with the. I mean, you have to at least start with the players. I understand it's dangerous, and I understand.
Like, how many chip stacks? What do you believe your chip stack was? And they went through that, and then they tried to cross-reference it with. I don't know why I keep saying cross-referenced it with kind of surveillance footage, which again, you are in a casino. A big casino, like these are not small like poker rooms like CCG or a Texas card room, not Texas card, but like a room in Texas, right? Like that are not as sophisticated with
that might have 4 cameras hanging out, making sure and
it's probably overhead, and you can see it, and you can probably make out that it was an ace of spades, or maybe a guy went south. But if you're trying to get down to the nitty gritty of counting chip stacks for every single table at the player, or every player at the table, like that's impossible. Does not even give an inkling of how difficult this was. And it only I think it's true, only took them 2 hours to reconstruct the stack sizes as close as humanly possible. They also counted down all the other chip stacks at the other tables to get a total chip count to ensure that they weren't adding or subtracting any chips from the tournament.
Yeah, so we only have 4 million chips for the 21 of you guys to work with.
Correct.
So if you guys add it all up and it's 5 million, clearly we're off here by 20%, 25%, and somebody's lying.
So I mean, yeah, and there was.
So I mean, they used all their tools. I wonder. I don't mean to interrupt, but I wonder if they used any of the poker.org like updates, or any of the reporters or people that have been checking in on stacks. We're about to be on break, blah, 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 has got 790,000. I wonder if that was another piece of the puzzle that they played in.
I'm sure it was.
Because I'm sure those guys might, though there was definitely reporting there, I believe. I believe those guys might know that might be second best over the cameras. If you ask me, it'd be like the player knows first, the reporters know second. Cameras are like a last-ditch effort to make sure that nobody's way off here.
It always amazes me, and I am terrible at giving specifics to a bad beat story.
It's very true.
I can't do it. I don't remember exactly how it went down, and it always blows my mind when I'm watching Liam do this at either a circuit event or when I was at, when we were at the actual WSOP. And it is cool to know one of the reporters, because then they do come over and see you, and there's a much more likelihood of you getting into like an article.
For sure.
And he was lurking about big time when I was in the Monster, or in the Mystery Bounty, close to the bubble, and which was super cool that he was like right there. And anytime he was like, he was waiting to come over. But I watched him do it a few times, and I was like, how do they know exactly what the bets are? Because they're not always spoken, and like just their ability to like eyeball a stack and know what it is. Like it's just
it's an acquired skill
mind.
For sure. It's also, if you ever listen to him break down a bad beat story, he's much more articulate than you. I mean, he's phenomenal. He was telling a bad beat story the other day. He busted a PLO tournament, I think, at the Aria. He's in Vegas right now. At least he was as of 48 hours ago. And, he was just like, oh, the ace king jack with the suit couldn't beat this on this board. It just sounded smooth and clear. And it would have taken you 90 seconds to spit out 4 versions of his
garbage information. Where I'm like,
of his 15-second story.
Ace, king, 10. He had Jackson. No, wait, I had a jack and maybe a 10. Wait, no, he had hearts. And then
And the flop was
something 6XX. Well, what were the X's? I don't know. They were cards. Not face.
Yeah, but Kenny, neither of you guys have a 6. Why is the 6 important?
Maybe one of them. Maybe one of them was a face card. I don't remember. And then the turn came. Well, what was the bets on the flop? Oh, I don't know. I don't remember.
He checked. No, wait. I was out of position. I checked.
And the best is when I change mid-story and be like, okay, so I check. He bets. I raise. And then the flop comes. He leads. Oh, did you check again? No. He was first. So bad.
It is great. It's not one of your...
You just experienced a Ken bad beat story is about as good as that gets. Funny story, and I know I want to tell us, and I've told this story before to people in real life podcasting, which means just talking to me in person. We were at a CCG event, and this is many years ago, decade,
I want to say 09, 08.
I was going to say before 2010. First couple years. And so the tables weren't as sophisticated, and we were in a very small venue, and it was super tight. And somehow a table leg had gotten kicked so many times from like being in the corner and jammed into this like super small room. And it was a deep stack. And am I allowed to say the player's name, or should I just like not say his name? We'll call him Mike. Mike, who's a wildly famous Chicago poker player, notorious of just like just for awesome stories, and he was the person in this. And there's like 5 people left in the final table. Somehow the table leg gets kicked a final time, and the table goes down. Not to the point where it like fell into players' laps, but like now it's at like a 30-degree incline, so all the chips just slide around. And now basically we're in the same situation that Cherokee has here, where it's like, all right, we got to recreate these chip stacks, but we don't have the ability to check overhead cameras. So now we just have to go on the players' ability to have an idea of what was in their stacks. And player A goes, he's like, I had like, 120,000. Player B says, I had like 80,000. Player C, this famous Mike, goes 810,000. And we're like, Mike, there's only 750,000 chips in play. Like, you couldn't have had 810. He's like, nah, definitely had 810. I was like, okay. And then one guy's like, there's 4 of us left. You guys just want to chop it? And everybody's like, yeah, fine, chop's good, chop. So they ended up chopping it, which actually was brought up at Cherokee, was that maybe it would be just fair to chop it 65 ways. And I did love the video that Matt Savage did where he was like, absolutely not would I ever allow that to happen, or would I be in favor of it. That's just not an option. Like, we're going to have to figure out another alternative, do the best we can with footage and cameras and player telling us what they have and counting down other stack sizes. Like a total nightmare.
It's crazy because I see kind of both sides of the story where it's like, okay, they're playing for whatever first place prize is. I don't know, $300K. There's probably like $1 million. There's probably $1 million left in the prize pool, if not more, to divide up with 65. I'd actually say more than $1 million to divvy up. And it's almost like it's too much money to chop up, but then it just seems like it's too much money to play for.
Yeah,
with these like I could see both sides of the.
Well, first place was 368,000.
Yeah. So I mean, there's over $1 million, maybe even at the final table. I mean, it's close.
Yeah.
I mean, there's got to be like 500K between first and second, right there. But anyways, I mean, long story short for me is like, I agree that the prestige of it being a main event, 65 left, is just nowhere close to like there's a whole nother tournament from 65 to 1.
Absolutely.
It's like
$6 million.
Yeah.
That was the prize pool.
It's almost like that's too much money to not play it out, but too much money to play out inauthentically. I don't know. I mean, I guess I wouldn't want to chop it up either as a tournament director, especially 65 ways. Feels like you're robbing so many people
ways and it's 40K to chop. I might have been like, yeah, chop sounds fine.
You would, because you would be short stack and you would never. Yeah, you'd be happy to make it to final 65.
Yeah, that's true.
But But the real pros of the situation would
So
be like,
wild.
screw that. There's people like Ken Cullen in the tournament. I need to bust this guy out before I'm shopping.
Get him out of
The
here.
guy's a fish. Yeah.
Famous
I hope
Mike.
he says he's got $1 million and he's only got $500K. More chips for me to take later.
So that brings us to the point of today's episode. Obviously, it's to talk about this wild situation that happens, and poker never ceases to amaze me of just the wild things that happen. And it's not very clear if this was a rogue player that had been knocked out. Was it a poker buddy's friend? Like, they have no idea.
He was not in the tournament at the time, though, correct? That has been reported?
Yes. Yeah, because they didn't take his chips out of play because clearly he was escorted out and probably arrested. I'm assuming. There's no way it couldn't have happened.
Stupid way to get arrested.
I can think of many dumb ways to get arrested, and that's probably top 5. Like, that just seems you accomplished nothing.
Right, you got nothing out of it. Right. Like, at least go streaking on a baseball field and win a bet or something.
And then you're on TV, Sports Center. Like, that sounds great. Like, this didn't make Sports Center, right? Maybe it did.
No.
It's close.
I don't think so. But super quick, I know we're going to get to the moral story. Have you seen the thing where the guy bet 80-1 odds that there'd be a streaker in the Super Bowl, and then he just pulled a bunch of money on it and then streaked it himself?
And then did it himself.
And then didn't get paid for it, which is bullshit if you ask me. No, they retracted it.
No.
Did
they give him his 80 grand back?
I don't know. I think it was like 10,000 to win 800,000 because it was 80-1.
Dude,
that like 10K to win it.
Like, that's a bad props bet for the casinos to take because you're right. I just skew it and just be like, all right, we're going streaking.
Right, we're going streaking. I don't care.
800K.
I don't know why the guy would say it was him, though. I mean, like, give the flip to your buddy. And I'll tell you right now, if I'm going streaking, you can cash in my ticket. We'll chop it up later.
Right, or have you buy the ticket and I'll do the streaking and then just keep our story straight.
For sure.
Nobody knows but this.
Back to
so if you're going to bet on streaking, the moral of the story is if you're going to bet on streaking and you're going to do the streaking yourself to ensure that victory, which I think is a great idea, be a competent of the current laws in the state that you're in, so you know what the penalties are. Because like if it's like 5 years in jail, I don't really think 800K.
Right, or they fine you 100,000 and you only made 80,000.
Right, then you lost 20. Seems dumb. Also, don't talk about it. Got to keep that secret to the grave kind of thing. Moral of the story of the Cherokee fiasco, chaotic Cherokee fiasco, is that there should be almost a rule, unwritten or not, that if you are playing in a poker tournament and you are going on break, or you're getting up to go to the bathroom, or you want to tell a story, like you should always be taking a picture of your chip stack in a competent manner every time you leave the table to ensure that your chip stack is correct.
Especially with 65 left in the main event.
And first place is like 380K, which I don't care what anybody says out there. Anybody listening to this podcast, like 380K, I don't want to say it's life-changing money, but it's like dramatically changing money. Like, it's not like I can quit my job and play golf every day if I won 383,000, but like I could do a lot with it. Like, I don't know, open a Subway.
Seems great.
It's like a whole Subway franchise is what you just won. But it's and I will say, to my detriment, I never take a picture of my stack when I leave the table for break. I just trust implicitly. I'm also not going to come back and be like, I'm 20,000 short. Like, I don't do that either. And then it's always funny when people say that and they ask me, well, what do we do? And I'd be like, well, did you take a picture of your stack? No. And be like, well, they brought 100,000 in color up chips. They left with 100,000 in color up chips. Like, your chip stack physically can't be wrong unless the player next to you took it. Did you take a picture of your chip stack? No, I didn't. I didn't do anything. So it's like now, like, I know there's not a discrepancy in chips. Now, there are times when you'll do a color up and you get to the end and you go, ah, shit, there's an extra 5K. Somebody got shorted 5K, 100%. And this is not a regular occurrence, but it has happened, right? In the 20 years that I've been doing this.
Of course.
It has happened. And then I just wait. And then a guy goes, wait, I think my stack's wrong. I think I left with 157. I only have 152. Be like, all right, cool. Bink, here's your 5. Like, I know that person's not full of shit then,
Right, how would they know? Yeah.
It is
how
a domino effect, though, because then everybody starts to go, wait, I think my chip stack is short as well. Like, no, it's not. I know it's not.
It's just such a simple task in 2025 that just covers so much covers everything from the dealer screwing up to the guy stealing from you to a guy rolling in and flipping tables. Like, it's a full range of an insurance policy for literally 8 seconds to click the photo button and get a good shot.
It's an insurance policy to ensure that you come back to the same chip stack, which is huge. I mean, you're right. Every single one of us, you said it earlier, either pre-recording or on the recording, that, I mean, we all have a computer in our pocket that's fully capable of taking wonderful pictures, better than most digital cameras now. And I'm talking like the big, Canon with these wild, Pulitzer Prize.
Wild lenses and
Right. Pulitzer Prize winning guys are using. Like, we can get pretty damn good. I took a picture of the moon the other night. It's amazing. Just my moon taking picture. It's pretty funny. It takes all of a few seconds, and it could save, if everybody had done that in this main event in Cherokee, like that time, which to be 2 hours, for them to be able to figure that out in 2 hours is like, they should be applauded for that, because that's insane. Like, it easily
send the players on dinner, we'll figure it out.
It could have been so much longer of just like him and Han around. Imagine if you had like,
especially with the diligency of like, hey, we're playing for $2 million here. We can't screw this up.
Right.
Yeah.
I think it's a wonderful credit to the tournament directors at the WSOP and Cherokee in general to be able to do that. Is just, I mean, I'm like dumbfounded that they were able to get
but
it.
If all 21 of those guys had pictures, they could have cut it to 45 minutes, an hour, a half hour, whatever.
And been much closer to definitive, because there's always going to be now a little asterisk, a little Barry Bonds-esque little asterisk next to that home run record that says, well, yes, but you did do some steroids, possibly. So,
because you got to remember, even if the stack's 4 big blinds off, it's like a double up and then it's 8 off, and then a double up, a triple up, and it's now 24 big blinds off. And, obviously the domino effect the farther you get in the tournament, but like little minor, like, what seems minuscule now in 4 hours.
Oh, it's only two big blinds. Well, the blinds were 15,000, 30,000. So 2 blinds.
Right. So that's 2 starting stacks.
Right. If you're down to 2, right. If you're at 12 big blinds and you got, now and all of a sudden you come back, you got 10, like, that's a huge jump.
For sure. It's a whole nother orbit of hands you can have to, shove.
That you get to wait and see and go from there. So I think, there should be like a tournament, like, I don't know if it should be a rule, but I think it's definitely something that every player should do. If you are in a tournament and you go on break, take a picture of your stack size. And make sure you take a picture of your stack size that you can actually look at and read. Because so many times I see, it's like people take these careless pictures. And I'm not talking like you got to be Ansel Adams here. That's Ken's quick, famous photographer, little nod in there. It's like you got to be curious, but you got to be able to see the chip stacks. You got to be able to have it in there, which also brings us, not only should you be taking pictures of your chip stack at break, Brando, what is rule number 2 that we should be learning from this?
You should always know how many you have in your stack and stack them appropriately.
There you go. It's
almost always.
I think that's a huge thing that kind of tilts me when I see players do it. They're either doing like 10 chip stacks, so it's like this big wide stack that they have, which I don't understand. Like, you put your chips in stacks of 20, and then everybody around you knows what it is. So that way, I know it's so cool to have 100K in orange chips, 1K chips in a tournament, and you got them in like 2 stacks of towers, and there's so many chip stacks. Oh my god! And there's one
you got 56 in one and 40 in the other one. Cool.
Like, what are you doing, man? Like, so many things happen where you don't really know how many chips you have. The players around you don't really know how many chips you have. I don't think there's any benefit to doing that against other players. Yes, it's harder to estimate your chip stack, which maybe would be an advantage when a player's looking at it to figure out what to bet. But any advantage that you're gaining from them not knowing, you lose by you not knowing what your chip stack is, right?
I agree with that statement fully.
It's like the reverse effect. It's like you can't get any benefit from it. It always amazes me when people don't have any idea how many chips they have. Well, how do you bet into the pots without knowing what you have to bet with? I don't know. It's crazy. Back me up here. More than just
I got nothing. I'm
come on, use one of your cool terms like stack to pot ratio, SPR.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't know if you can't do the math, I mean, maybe they just don't know the math, but I mean, it's 2025. Everybody at least knows some of the math that goes
even
into
I know
it.
the math.
I mean, you think you know how to say the math. I don't know.
I think I know what the math is.
In your head, you know the math.
Right.
Whether or not
it's
the
real.
math checks out to the math, I mean, you know the math in your head.
Every time I'm all in, it's 50-50. Either I win or I lose.
That's it. It's binary, baby. Mm-hmm. Poker. It's easy. But no, I mean, if you have 38,000 in your chip stack and you're going to the flop and there's 5,000 in there, you're going to drastically change, your bet sizing on the flop and the turn to jam the river, whether if you had 36,000 or 51,000. And if you don't have your chip stack stacked for you to know that you started the hand with 51 and not 36, I mean, you can completely screw up the hand. And I mean, just play bad poker by result of you just being lazy or thinking you're cool or being too drunk to stack, whatever the reason may be. You're now giving yourself a disadvantage by not stacking and knowing exactly how many you have, so you can properly size. I mean, poker is relatively a solved game, and the bet sizing is one of the few things that we have left with some variability in it. Like, everybody knows you need to bet this flop. It's like, do you bet 1/6 flop, 1 or 2/3, a pot and a half? These are the small decisions that we're making now. And each of those micro decisions of how much to bet is a result of you knowing exactly how many chips you have to make further bets on future streets. It's pretty hard to bluff somebody on the river when you pound 12,000 on a flush draw on the turn and leave yourself with 3,100 on the river. Cool, you missed your flush draw. Now what are you going to do? Scare them away with 3,100 when they put in 7,000 on the flop and 14,000 on the turn?
Right.
Like, that didn't work.
No.
But, if you bet
chip sizing.
If you bet 35 on the flop and 7 on the turn and left yourself with 15.5, well, now they've only put in 10.5 and they got to call 15.5 more. And now this seems like a nice calculated bluff of sometimes Brandon's going to show up with a set here and sometimes Brandon's going to show up with a missed king high flush draw. You guys figure it out.
Right.
As opposed to, I don't give a shit. He's probably, I got a pair of 7s. Let me see what you got. Poorly structured bluffs and bet sizing go a long way in winning and losing poker tournaments. And if you don't know how many chips you have, you're just severely at a disadvantage in doing so.
Who did you tell me that
end
rant? Who did you tell me that they count their chips like obsessively on every hand almost?
Yeah, good old Jordan Hellstern. He was on the podcast way in the early.
He's like episode 4.
He might be episode 4. I mean, under 10 for sure.
Oh no, episode 4 was Jamin Burton of the Drawing Dead vlog, who I love.
Nice.
If you are not following Jamin, that was April 4th of 2020. We did the interview in Texas. Him and I were down there together. It was awesome. We had so much fun. I think he was doing a meetup game. Super fun guy. Great interview. He threw me for a loop a bunch of times, which does not happen very often. But this was early in the episodes. Jordan is episode 7, lucky number 7, the one with Jordan Hellstrom, the 2-time WSOP ring champion. So this guy knows how to play some poker. And when a 2-time champ says, don't feel bad, or what did he say? You said the quote. It's just like,
I forgot.
How do these people not know how many chips they have?
Yeah, I remember he was just
like stacking every single hand.
He's like, I count out my chips after, and we were playing a cash game. We weren't even playing a tournament.
Right.
We were playing a little 1-2-5 PLO game at the Horseshoe. He's like, I just don't understand how people don't just, count out their chips after every hand. You scoop in a $120 pot. Okay, cool. How much I got now?
Right.
Oh, I went from $790 to $850. Okay.
Right.
And it's nicely organized with a little pyramid of 20 chip stacks of $100 each, and then your crumbs on top. He's like, I can tell you, everybody at the table knows he's got 800 and something instantly.
Yeah, I like a good pyramid. I always start with the bottom kind of 10 little bowling pin kind of action.
For sure, area. The 4-3-2-1 is the first 1,000 I've ever get to. Yeah.
And then I always have my green and black if I have them like stacked on top of them. So you get like that's how you get like the double stack sizes. But there's nothing that makes me happier when you scoop in some more pots and you got like 1,500, which is your 10
3,
stacks
2, 1 on top of the 4-3.
Yeah, and then there's like 3 and then some more on top. Like I love build. That to me is the way you build a chip stack. The fake high chip stack is when you try to stack them like 2 stacks like 60 high, and then you just look stupid because then they're going to fall over. And I'm definitely you can't see me, but I'm bumping the table. Like I'm constantly bumping that thing to try to knock it over. Right. Like if you're in the middle of a thought process trying to figure out if you're going to call my bet, you're definitely going to feel a bump from the table of just, and then all his chips fall over. Then I'll be like, dealer's chips are in, those are mine. Or if he didn't, I'd be like, those don't count. That's not a real bet. Depending on where I actually want the hand to go, which I always think is good. I think
so. Again, disadvantage for that guy. Advantage Ken.
I know what I have. You don't know, Dick. Sorry, that was a lot. It was really hard. That was a hard D too. I just ripped it. Because this is a trouble spot for me. You know me. I think I'm now adding a new thing to Ken's angry. You want to tilt Ken. You either directional bet towards me. You min bet me. What was the other one I didn't like that people do? I can't remember. Apparently now it's put your chip stack. It might have always been putting like $50 chip stacks at the cash game. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, is this a ploy to make me think you're a newbie? Like, I don't understand.
Well, what's worse, stacks of 50 or just like 7 random stacks of 51,
7 random stacks is worse than the 50
21.
Stacks, but 50 stacks bother me too. Yeah.
What about 25 stacks?
That's insane. Because people do that too, and I also don't understand. Why are you doing that? Like, why?
Well, for nice, easy increments. They're betting 25s and 50s.
Only you know what those increments are, which maybe at that point you might be able to get away with the idea of that I'm at a disadvantage because I can't look at it, but I know they're more than 20. So even if I saw 4 chip stacks of 25, I'm going to be like, well, that's, it's close to this, Like I'm going to be able to get DM well close to it, but
he's like, bro, I have 18 stacks of 25. You know exactly how much I have.
Why are you doing that? Are you insane? It's insane. It's absolute anarchy. I don't like anarchy. I'm not an agent of chaos. I like my chip stacks to be very particular. I get a little OCD on the chip stacks. Moral of the story. When you're at Cherokee, beware of a man with super long hair and Jumanji look in his eye running towards the poker room. Quickly snap a picture of
Quickly snap a picture.
Like, get a picture. You hear somebody like, ah! And then running towards you. Step 1, take a picture. Step 2, get out of the way.
Tackle him. Yeah, or tackle him or run.
Don't get involved because I'm shocked that 3 players tackled this dude and they were like, oh, fuck, they were getting their bumps in. They were punching him underneath the table. You can't quite see it, but I could see some elbows getting dropped on him. And the guy's like, I'm not doing anything. I'm not hurting anyone. I heard that, which I'm pretty sure was the Jumanji guy after he just dusted 3 tables. At every break, get used to the fact of
especially
take
a color
picture
break.
of,
especially a color up.
You're right. That's fair. If you don't want to
when
do
people
it
if people are touching your chips, I'm taking a picture.
If you know they're going to be doing it, take a picture.
Right. If it's a WSOP and you know the dealer's sitting there and nobody's touching shit, I mean, I would still take one over not take one. But if you skip a color up break, if you skip taking a picture during a color up, you're just being lazy.
No, I think if you do not take a picture of your chip stack before leaving the table, and you do have to leave the table, that's not an option. You have to leave. If you are unwilling to take a picture of your chip stack, then you take whatever you get when you sit down. If it's more or it's less, you don't have a leg to stand on. It's like, well, let me see your driver's license. I don't have one. Well, then you have no business being on the road. You can't say anything. It's immediately, you're out. You don't get any choices.
Or you get ID'd for liquor and you don't have your license. You're shit out of luck. You're not getting it then.
Sorry, I know you said you're 21.
I mean, I know you don't have those problems.
I believe you're 21,
anymore,
but you got no proof. I can't do anything for you. Sorry.
Yep.
You should have thought better. Take a picture before breaks, especially color up breaks. Know your chip stack size at all times. At any spot, you should. It would be like the old days when the tag team terms where you'd yell switch and you'd have to switch. Like you should be able to tell your partner at that exact moment. I have 80,000 to start the hand. I bet 10,000 on the flop. It's to us. He just raised to 25K on the turn. Blah blah blah. Like we should know exactly. Not a guesstimate. Like you should know those things. I'm fully aware of the fact that I don't. I do always know what I start the hand with because I do obsessively count my chips constantly. I think it's just not a nervous tick, but it's just like a thing to do with my hands, and I do that constantly. I'm always counting down my chip stack, and then I immediately forget what it is, and then I do it again between shuffles.
And then you put in your blinds, and then you get a raise stolen from you, and you count them again.
I count them again. Count your chips. Know your chips. Be aware of those SPRs because I just want to see how many times I can say SPR in the podcast and take pictures. One, also two, it's nice if you get a big chip stack and you can look back at it. Like maybe next time you're in bed and you're trying to fall asleep, you're like, oh, let's go back to that main event where I had 350K in chips. So you just like look at it. Now you're going to swipe right a couple times and see it slowly diminish, but it's, it's nice to look at those big stacks, Remember those big wins.
Everybody should have a chip porn folder on their
Thank
phone.
you. I don't. I am adding that today.
Oh, I do.
Well, I don't ever get enough big chip stacks to brag about them. It's normally like, look at my little stack. I survived the whole time with that. It's not good. Thank you as always for listening. Make sure you follow us on Instagram at The Overlay Pod. Hit us up on the X, no longer saying formerly known as Twitter, at The Overlay Pod. Both of them are up and on there. New episodes we're trying to do twice a month. We might have an incredibly awesome special guest coming. I'm trying to figure out if we can get him on the podcast. He agreed to be on. We just got to find a time that's convenient. It'll be a big one. I promise you'll enjoy it. Brandon, you got anything else?
I will actually say it'll actually be a big one. It'll be a good one, guys.
Yeah. It's huge. Like I was so flattered. I very, very rarely, and you know this about me, you can vouch for me here. Do I ever fanboy at a poker tournament? I sat with Ari Fox. What the hell's his name? Alex Foxen. I got there. I sat next to Alex Foxen.
Ari Fox.
And who was the other guy? Will Jaffe?
Will Jaffe, yep.
No idea who either one of them are. Everybody fanboyed to the point where I sneakily took a picture, sent it to Brandon and Alex Ice Haze, and I was like, who are these guys? Everybody's coming over and talking to them. And they're like, oh my God, this is da-da-da-da. And then I was like, oh, now I'm mildly intimidated, but I'm too dumb to know any better, which I think is a great way to play poker.
It definitely is.
I fanboyed out. As soon as he responded on Instagram, I immediately text Brandon. I'm like, oh my God, look who responded and followed us. He definitely listened to the podcast. This is amazing. So it's super cool. I'm excited about it. Thank you for listening. Brando, lead us out of here.
Farewell, all. Enjoy the weather. Hopefully this is early spring, not last winter.
This is pre-early spring. Hopefully we get one more early spring before actual spring. We'll see you next time, everybody.